Atlanta's #1 radio stations, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat 94.6 radio stations, has you covered. From our studios to our newsroom at K.L.P. Entertainment. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more. Live from our newsrooms brings back our hit news network, SNN, with many news anchors like Arthur Brooks, Addison Hayden, and Beatrix Gemma. Brings you stories about the news worldwide. Tune in on Atlanta's #1 stations, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat 94.6 radio stations. To get the latest news today, listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more. The latest show goes after hours. The Beyond Swanky podcast with Kennedy Lucas brings out more for our Lucas Nation fans. Tune in for reviews, topics, and even special guests. We go beyond the swankiness as it's juicy as hell with our DJ Lou Pezzi, playing nothing but the hits on the Spotify podcast version. Live from our studio of Swanky Studios, it's the Beyond Swanky podcast with Kennedy Lucas on Atlanta's #1 stations, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat 94.6 radio station. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more.
You are now tuned in to Atlanta's hottest radio show.
Our stories from our studio to your ear. It's the Beyond Swanky podcast.
With your host, Kennedy Lucas. On Swanky 93.3 radio station. The Heat 94.6 radio station.
Hello, Atlanta. Welcome back to another exciting podcast here today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Beyond Swanky podcast with your host, K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas. Welcome back to another exciting podcast. It's again March 9th, a wonderful, wonderful Thursday, if you will. Hopefully you guys are ready for another exciting podcast here today. I'm glad that we were able to make it into the studio today. Hopefully everyone is staying nice and cool and level-headed, and make sure everybody is taking some medicine if you can. Because, ladies and gentlemen, pollen season's here. T, if you know about it, it's here. Everybody, and I'm kind of guilty of it too, because I've been dabbling into the emergency powder, if you will. But I had to make sure that I, take my juices, take my vitamin C's and D's into my body system, because pollen is here. I did run into a lot of pollen, and one thing I noticed today, I did sneeze quite a few bit today. So I had to again put my mask back on and just making sure I'm not sick. It's just, allergies, it's pollen season. We in March, right? So hopefully you guys are ready for it. I'm excited for March. I'm excited for March to come on and come on throughout the wave there. And we ready for summertime, really. So welcome back to another exciting podcast again. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the media this week. We've been doing a lot, from SNN Sports News, and the podcasting. Now, if you guys didn't, and hopefully you guys didn't miss it, but of course it's available right now. We had a special podcast again. We had Ebony Lingens on the show, and we talked about GDN and GGC, and we talked about our history, our reminiscing our history there. So again, hopefully you guys have been enjoying the podcast as well. Now, I'm fixing my mic because I do hear some static here. But we're going to keep rolling because, we kind of live right now. So hopefully that goes away. Now, we have quite a few topics that we want to talk about here on the podcast, and I cannot wait to talk about it. Luckily, I have for you guys the Beyond Swanky podcast a show review. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys don't know, I'm a huge movie and show buff. I like to watch all kinds of shows. Now, this show I slept on because this show came out in 2020. And this was a show that I didn't know anything about until I heard the good folks, the ladies and gentlemen up there in New Jersey, of course, the Joe Budden podcast is always on. I'm always an advocate for, I'm an advocate to have podcasters out there and listen to them and study from them. So they've been talking about this show, and this show is called Your Honor. And by gosh, I slept on it. So I Googled it. And it's a show that's on Showtime. Again, you guys can get it if you have the primetime subscription for YouTube and Fubo TV and Paramount Plus. It's there. I have Showtime, believe it or not, because Showtime came free with my Spotify plan. Now, if you guys don't know, that student plan, when you become Spotify member and you have a student, because you guys know I'm a grad student, that student plan comes in handy. So again, if you are a student, you have a valid student edu email address, guys, I pay $5 for Spotify, Hulu, and Showtime. You cannot beat that pricing. So I ended up getting Showtime for free within my subscription, and I dabbled into this show. Now I can only give you the first 3 episodes because I started it actually today. I was in the office eating lunch, and on my lunchtime I knew we were coming to do the podcast, and it was just there, and I said, okay, let me watch this real quick because this could be our review for the podcast today. And by gosh, I love this. I really love this show thus far. It's kind of a crime series. I felt bad that I watched the first episode because the first episode did get kind of gory, and I was eating lunch. So I was like, ooh, I shouldn't have seen that gory scene while I'm having lunch. So again, this show was from 2020 to 2021. That was the first season. And this show came out December 6, 2020. And I slept on the show. I did. I have not seen this show. And now that it's out there, and of course, possibly they're getting season 3, this is a good show. Now, like I say, I can only give you the synopsis of the first couple of episodes. I didn't watch the entire season quite just yet. I'm binge watching this starting today all throughout the weekend. You got Bryan Cranston to play Michael DeSato. Good actor, by the way. He's done some good stuff, right? We've got a list here. He's been in Breaking Bad, Malcolm in the Middle, Going Large. Why him? He was also in Kung Fu Panda 3. He plays a character in The Upside with Kevin Hart. He was in Drive. So he's done some great stuff so far. And I enjoy all the things that he got going out for sure. His voice work in some of these movies. And of course, he's in this hit show again. You got Lily Kay to play Thea Baxter. You got Hunter Doohan to play Adam, Michael's son. You got Hope Davis to play Gina Baxter. Of course, Hope Davis, we all know about Hope Davis. She's been in a lot of amazing things. Michael Stahlberg to play Jimmy Baxter, the head boss of Mafia. You've got Lamar Johnson to play Coco Jones. Lamar Johnson, we all know what he's been in. He played Henry in the latest show. I want to say it was The Last of Us, which is very interesting. Yes, he plays Henry in The Last of Us this current season, so he's been popping up really well. So there's a lot of people in the show. I'm not going to name every character that's in the show. I'm just highlighting the people that I've seen so far. Very, very excited to have such a great cast like this. Now, if you guys want to know what this show is about, again, it's called Your Honor. As we're trying to get back here, Your Honor, again, is a great show for sure. Now, it's a drama series, but it's kind of a thriller, right? It's a thriller to the imagination. It's amazing. Now, Your Honor is an American drama television series starring Bryan Cranston, adapted from the Israel TV series Kavodu. Now, this show is about, Bryan Cranston's character, Michael DeSato. He's a judge, federal judge, and he's doing his thing, and he's trying to prevail after his wife and also Adam's mother dies, and then it's an anniversary where Adam goes and try to honor his mom because it's been a year later, or an anniversary of his mother passing. He's going out and he goes around, he's driving around, he's in a kind of an off neighborhood. He drives up carefully. Now this kid has asthma, so as he can't breathe because he's in an off town, he's on the wrong side of town where there's probably some things that have happened, and I'm trying to be politically correct here, and it's just not working for me, T. So he's in the hood, right? He's in the hood side of New Orleans. Now the setting there, T, is in New Orleans, Louisiana, and he gets scared, right? White kid in a hood neighborhood, yes, you're scared. You're driving around. So he tries to prevail and escapes and tries to go out, but then Jimmy and Jeannie Baxter's son, Rocco, is a couple days before his birthday. His parents buys him a motorcycle. He goes around, rides around with it. He's on the other side of town, and then he meets Adam, the son, in his car, and Adam hits him because he's reaching for his inhaler. Now, if you guys don't know, I do have asthma myself. I don't have emergency asthma as much anymore because I have what is called exercise overdose asthma. So when I'm doing too much or not too enough for my health, my asthma sparks out. Now, I take pills for that, but I haven't used my asthma pills in a very, very long time because I start working out. I start getting more in shape. Now my asthma has kind of, I want to say I kind of beat asthma a little bit because it hasn't been that rough. So again, going forward into that, he's going forward into that, and he hits the kid because he's reaching for his asthma. Now Rocco Baxter is dead. The dad, Bryan Cranston, the judge, he finds out that he killed the son of Jimmy Baxter. He's like the top crime boss, mafia, if you will, in New Orleans. He's a bad dude to kind of fiddle around with and kill one of his family members, and now they're out for vengeance and blood, trying to seek the truth. Again, synopsis of it: a judge confronts his deepest convictions when his son is involved with a hit and run. Adam does run, right? He's scared, right? He hits the guy, tries to save him, calls 911, he runs. And that's, guys, never do a hit and run, because again, if you do a hit and run, that's a felony, by the way. Hit and run that embroils an organization crime family, the Baxters. He faces a series of impossible choices and discovers how far a father will go to save his son's life. Again, that's a hit and run case. So yes, you will go in life in prison if you do a hit and run. Now, if you hit somebody, God forbid anybody hit somebody, but if you hit somebody, don't run. Stay there. Of course, Bryan Cranston stars in a New Orleans judge who is forced to confront his deepest, darkest convictions to save his son as a storm of vengeance, lies, and deceit threatens to engulf the entire city. Michael DeSaito faces a series of increasingly impossible choices, discovers just how far he'll go to save his son's life from the producers of The Good Wife and The Night of. So again, guys, that's my synopsis of the show. I only watched a couple of episodes in, but the story's starting to unboil, right? You got the detective, let's get that cast list back up, T. But the detective, hold on, I'm trying to get the cast list real quick now, because the detective I don't trust. Now, Amy Landchecker plays Nancy Costello. She is the detective that's in the series, and you know what's funny, T? They always make every detective or every FBI look the same. Pantsuit, hair is up into a ponytail, has a kind of a starchy type of voice. That's every detective, every FBI that's a female in every series, without fail. So I don't trust her, right? I'm not trusting her, not for a second, because, she's smart. She'll figure it out. So it's very, very interesting. You've got a lot, again, like I said, you have a lot of great characters. You got Sophia Black, Ella to play Franny, and that's kind of the love interest between her and Adam. She's a teacher, photography teacher, very young to be a teacher too. Not judging, not stereotype, not judging here, but that, she looked like Adam's age. So it's very interesting, guys. It's a great show. It's on Showtime. If you're able to get it, I got it for free with Spotify subscription. But if you ever get Showtime, yeah, this is the network. This is the show that I would enjoy watching. Again, the Joe Budden podcast. Joe talked about it with quite a few of his crew members for the podcast. So I'm here for it. I'm very much here for that. I'm excited to see what happens when I finish watching season 1, and then I will start season 2. It's gonna take me some time, right? It's gonna take me some time, for sure, but it's very, very interesting. Moving on next to what we like to say, our hip hop news goes out, of course, and this was a story topic of conversation that is quite recent that I want to talk about for sure. Again, related back to the Joe Budden podcast, because I watched their show and they've had some good points on today's podcast. Shout out to them. This story is coming from us here at the studio and also from Complex. We all know Logic. Logic is a rapper, hip-hop artist. I kind of agree. When some people are saying that he just needs to retire, I kind of agree, right? Logic was hit, right, when he first came out. Now, here is the story. Logic sings a cover of Ice Cube's hit song, It Was a Good Day. I listened to the cover, and with my music, shout out to my Swanky Records and Impulse Music group, because we got an album coming out this Saturday. Roosevelt comes out this Saturday. Some of our songs are covers, remixes, so I can't hate too much on that. Sampling out a song, making a cover, right? A lot of artists have done this, but there's a huge but in that team. Logic, I guess, supposedly rapping, but he's he's technically singing into this song, and it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right. I listened to his cover and he's singing, but I think this cover was a little bit not for him, because Logic, again, to some people, you still a white boy. Some people might think you black. Most people, hey, Logic's a white rapper. I think it was Ice on the Joe Budden podcast. He said that, yeah, even Eminem's more blacker than Logic. I thought that was very funny. I listened to the cover and I'm just like, I don't know if this song was for you. And you said the N-word, right? Okay, and not to sound woke on the show, guys. So before y'all try to cancel me, this is how I feel about it. White folks shouldn't say the N-word, right? But they do. I think some of us black folks, we shouldn't say the C word, right? But we do, because God knows I do. I'm guilty of that. But white folks shouldn't say the N-word because of history, because of things that's in our past. But besides all that, he says the N-word in this song. So we were like, whoa, wait a minute. Can he say that? So again, I heard the cover. I don't think this was a great mix for him, right? Because a lot of people have some mixed notions. Even O'Shea Jackson Jr., of course, Ice Cube's son, has some choice words. Of course, he responds to Logic rapping about his mom while covering Ice Cube's It Was a Good Day. O'Shea Jackson Jr., actor, artist, he's played his father in Straight Outta Compton, has offered his thoughts on Logic's covering his dad's Ice Cube's classic track, It Was a Good Day. On Monday, Logic shared a live performance cover of the 1992 song, which appeared on Cube's third album, The Predator. He rapped the track word for word and attracted some attention from Twitter. And of course, we're talking about it too. And let me see if I can get it. Okay, so we're not going to play the whole thing, of course, obviously. But yeah. And what he did, this wasn't even a music video. It looks like Logic. First of all, the band looked bland as hell. There was no bumping, no style, no swankiness to his band. First off, And it looks like they did it right in front of a green screen and then played the actual music video of 1992's Ice Cube, It Was a Good Day, in the background. That's it. I could do way much better than this. So Jackson Jr., who appeared to take issue issue not with Logic saying the N-word like most on Twitter, because I've seen it on Twitter. Everybody was like, whoa, wait a minute, can he say that? But with him rapping a line about his mother, Kimberly Woodruff, this was a quote. He said, I respect Logic. I think he can rap, and that's all I really need. He wrote upon posting the clip, but bruh, if I ever hear you sing about my mother again, it's going to be a misunderstanding. LMAOOO. Yeah. So again, look, Logic can rap. I'm not gonna say I'm better than Logic. I'm not saying that, because obviously I'm just a producing man. I don't. Back in the day, I used to rap, and I don't rap no more because that was not my scene. I could not rap for shit. I think he could have picked something else to rap about, and then maybe that wasn't rapping really. That was just harmonizing and singing, in my opinion. If he actually damn near tried to rap on it, then maybe, right? But to me, it was weak. It was kind of I was hoping it would be like a tribute in a music video. That looked very amateurish. It looked like super low budget. Like, let's get these random guys to act like they're playing on the guitar and bass, and we're gonna do it in front of a green screen and have some camera close-ups, right? To where they could have really pulled out all the stops and really did something. Again, look, and O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son, yeah. Maybe, yeah. You say what you said, and somebody else. Oh, white dude, no race to it, but white dude rapping about your mama. Like, yeah, I can understand that. I can. So it's a weird dynamic. I didn't like the song. It was a little bit weak. Like I say, if he rapped on it, maybe he could have had some browning points for that. But yeah, I don't know if this was his thing. But yeah, it's out there, guys. So listen to it. Tell me what you guys think, because it's out there for sure. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. But when we come back, we've got some more things to talk about here on the show. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Atlanta's #1 radio stations, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat 94.6 radio stations, has you covered. From our studios to our newsroom at K.L.P. Entertainment. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more. Live from our newsrooms brings back our hit news network, SNN, with many news anchors like Arthur Brooks, Addison Hayden, and Beatrix Gemma. Brings you stories about the news worldwide. Tune in on Atlanta's #1 stations, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat 94.6 radio stations. To get the latest news today, listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the Beyond Swanky podcast. We're still in our season 2 for sure. Welcome back to the show, guys. Again, we've talked about a lot of great things thus far, and I cannot wait to dabble more into the news, topics of conversation. Now, T, you see that Chris Rock special? We all saw that Chris Rock special. Here's what I thought, because I saw a glimpse of this special. I did. Oh man, yeah, this wasn't Chris Rock's best work, honestly. Okay, so we all knew and a lot of people would say this, and I think he did too. I mean, Netflix got to it, right? I don't think Netflix has licensed him to talk about the slap. We all know about the famous Will Smith, Chris Rock slap that happened around this time last year at the Oscars. We all know what happened, right? It's been said Chris Rock has been on this tour, comedy tour, and within his comedy tour, he sold tickets. Now, his tickets have spiked. Since the slap, his tickets have spiked. Now, I knew he was going to sell out, but it really sold out after that slap because everybody wanted him to make jokes and crack down and really confront about the slap. Now, it's been said that during his tours, his shows, he talked a little bit about it, but then he moved on, right? He waited until this Netflix special, which it was available live on Netflix, but it's on demand now. And I've seen it on demand. I didn't catch it live. I don't think this was his best work. Now, I like comedy specials. I like stand-up comedy to a certain extent. I've watched quite a few comedy stand-ups. I laughed at quite a few comedy stand-ups, right? I've watched this one because, number one, I wanted to see what the buzz was about. I wanted to give my critiques and review. I felt that this wasn't Chris Rock's best work. Honestly, I think he holded on a whole year about the Will Smith situation, right? And even that, it wasn't as funny as people thought it was going to be. And maybe he thought it was going to be funny. It just wasn't as funny. Now, don't get me wrong, T. Chris Rock made his money. He made a bag, right? I'm not hating on that. But this wasn't his best work. I got to say. The thing about the transgender joke, I didn't find funny, right? Because number one, I'm a firm ally to the community. So I didn't really find any of that kind of funny. It was a little bit whack, in my opinion, when it came down to that. The abortion segment he had, that's a sticky conversation. I ain't gonna go there here on the show. I didn't really find that so much funny. Yeah, it wasn't his best work, right? And it leaded up to the last joke was something about not arguing in front of white folks. And to a certain extent, that's kind of true. I believe, because I make sure I don't do that. Yeah, don't fight in front of these white folks. Any people of race, really, but yeah, don't fight in front of folks. But he left it at that joke or a potential joke, and we was like, okay, damn, really? Like, you left it there? Because I know a lot of comedians, they would drop something, but it'd be like a last funny ass laugh, like a last laugh where you're gonna laugh the hardest, right? He left it there. Again, going back, it was the Chris Rock thing, Chris Rock Will Smith slap thing, and he said that he took it like Pacquiao. I was like, oh, okay, oof. You wrote that, Chris Rock? Because I've followed Chris Rock, not his entire life, right? Because I didn't know his super early days. I didn't know, right? I was a baby. I didn't know, but some of his stuff, yeah, that's funny, right? He made a joke about, yeah, even he would beat me. And this part, even if it's true, because I've had my fights with. Now, trust me, I had fist fights, not like brutal fist fights, but almost potential fist fights. I had arguments with all kinds of people. I had arguments and truffle and tuffles and kerfuffles and confrontments with punk ass people as of recently too, like punk ass people. I'm like, really? I'll destroy you. But then I've had some kerfuffles with some big dudes, right? I'm talking to the big dudes, and this wasn't as current, but when I was a little bit younger, yeah, I had kerfuffles with big dudes, and I know if I pick a fight in my mind, I'm gonna say, yeah, I might get my ass kicked, but I'm more of a man if I stood up, right? Not saying Chris Rock ain't a man, not calling him a bitch, but you don't say out loud that, hey, you some sucker fella for picking a fight with somebody you know you can beat, is what he said. I'm like, why would you announce that in public? It might be in your mind, yeah, he can whoop my ass, and maybe, I don't know, but I wouldn't announce that to the public. I didn't find that funny, because maybe Chris Rock could whoop Will Smith's ass. We don't know. Hopefully we ain't gonna never see that. I pray to God we won't see that. But that could be. He also made a joke about, hey, you can even beat me in movies. He said he played a zebra, Marty from Madagascar, and Will Smith he said a shark, but Will Smith's character in Shark Tank, I think he was a fish. So I didn't get that joke either, because I'm big on my DreamWorks and my DreamWorks movies, like I know. So, like I say, Chris Rock, man, this was not hitting it like people thought it was gonna do, but he made his money. Netflix played, and I'm gonna say it, T. I think Netflix licensed him to talk about the slap solely on that special because that was the bag, right? It's crazy how networks can license somebody's confrontation because they knew in 2022, that was the biggest talk of the town was the Chris Rock and Will Smith slap. It's been memed. Uncle Murda put it in his wrap up 2022, which I knew he was coming back with a wrap up. I knew he wasn't gonna retire that. So it was very, very interesting for sure. Not hating on any one of the two artists, actors, comedians. It sucks that they're like that. It sucks that they had that kerfuffle at the Oscars of all, for crying out loud. But it's just one of those things that it happened. And yeah, like I say, Chris Rock's special wasn't that great. I gotta say that. I do. It just wasn't that good. Speaking of what's gonna be good this August of 2023, you guys seen it. We saw it. TU saw it. And of course we gonna talk about it. Did y'all see that trailer for that new Ninja Turtles movie? I did. Monica, she's smiling like, yeah, baby, we're going to go see that. Yes, we are. So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem is this new movie that's getting ready to come out. Now, we did see the teaser trailer for it. We didn't see the full trailer. This looks good. They're taking, and a lot of people say they took elements from the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse movies. But I think they did, but I think they turned it a notch, I feel. Because after seeing now, and this, we about to talk about this for 30 minutes, probably not. But because I'm into movies and talking about movies and trailers and stuff, because we're obviously in that industry as well. But this trailer, this movie, executive produced by Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen's going to make a lot of money from this movie, first of all. This is a movie that I feel that they took some elements of comics, but it almost looked like they took elements of claymation, right? A lot of people dabbled in claymation. Wes Anderson, that's the one person I'm thinking of on top of my head right now, using Guillermo, I forgot this guy's name, but he's used claymation as well. Tim Burton is another prime example of using claymation in his movies. They're taking inspiration for comics, and I feel like they use claymation in this somehow, because it almost looked like claymation made into this movie. Now, I saw this trailer, and it looks quite amazing. You got Seth Rogen to play Bebop. You've got the Ninja Turtles. You've got all four of these guys. I'm not familiar with these guys, but you got Nicholas Cantu, Micah Abbey, Brady Noon, and Shalman Brown Jr. I'm not familiar with these young actors, but they're going to be the Ninja Turtles. So I can tell the story is going to be, they're teenagers, but I feel like they're a little bit pre-teenagers in this movie, which is quite interesting, because if you remember the Michael Bay film, the Ninja Turtles, both of them, they were teenagers, but they were a little bit older teenagers, right? So in this movie, you got a lot of younger teenagers, younger teenage years of the Ninja Turtles. So I'm very, very excited for that. You got I'm gonna butcher her name. I'm sorry. Ayu A Debris. I butchered her name. I'm so sorry. Great voice actor. She's played this one character in Big Mouth. That's really the only one I can think of. The Bear, she was also in. Very, very good with her voice and how the way she voices her character. So I'm excited to see her. Jackie Chan is going to play Splinter, Master Splinter. That's exciting. You got Rose Byrne to play Leatherhead. You got Giancarlo Esposito, he's like the villain in almost everything that he's done. Yeah, he's the villain in pretty much everything. He's in The Mandalorian, Breaking Bad. He was in Far Cry 6, the video game. He was the main villain. So very, very excited. You got John Cena to play Rocksteady. That makes sense. Ice Cube is playing Superfly. I can't wait to see how he's gonna sound in this movie for sure. You got Paul Rudd, Post Malone, and Maya Rudolph is going to be also in this movie as well. An all-star cast, right? So you got this all-star cast. I'm quite excited. I'm very, very excited to see what's going to happen in this movie. I might just go to theaters to see this set movie because the excitement is real. It really is real when it comes to these type of movies. I'm glad that there's movies that, let me tell y'all don't get this, because there's so many movies coming out this year. You got this movie coming out in August. You got the Super Mario movie coming out next month. Can't wait, right? So many great Spider-Man movies coming out. I want to say this June, right? So many great movies are coming out. I cannot wait. So congratulations to Seth Rogen. I know this man's about to make money from this movie because he's the executive. When you become an executive producer of a movie, you know you about to make the bag. You know you about to make that money. So I get very, very excited for that. So excited for Seth Rogen and his movies getting ready to come out for sure. So it's a great feeling. Like I say, these movies are coming out. Video games are coming out this year. All except one. Or at least it has been delayed. You guys know what I like how I segue there, T. You guys know what I'm talking about. Again, Starfield from Bethesda. So, Starfield, T, has been delayed again. And I wanted to give y'all my take on this. Now, this game was set to come out last November. It got pushed back to, word's been pushed back to December of last year. And now they're saying the first half of 2023 after that, because they got to work on some polishing. Now the new date is September 6th of this year. So that's the second half of this year. This is, to some gamers, this is very, very alarming. I understand why people delay their games. I do, because sometimes, and I'm gonna keep harping on this on every show that we do, but it is good that if you know your game is not good enough, and I'm very skeptical about this because this game is coming to Game Pass, right? You do not want a game delay that much. You don't, because for me, when a game has been delayed so many times, I tend to lose hope. I tend to forget about it because you got all these other games that are ready to be launched and out. I'm playing these games that are out. So when this game comes out, you think, oh snap, I kind of forgot about this game. Right? Now, here's the part where I think Starfield has a great advantage, right? Because I don't know if sales would have been that good if this game didn't come out for Game Pass and you're paying a whole retail price, $60. They have this advantage because this game, first of all, is Xbox exclusive, so that means that it comes out for Game Pass, right? And I say that's an advantage because this game, you can buy the game outright too, but this game is coming to Game Pass, so 9 times out of 10, people are just going to play this game on Game Pass because they're paying a subscription, so it's technically free for them. That's why I've been seeing on Twitter and Instagram and like gaming sites that a lot of people were mad, but they're not as upset because they know that they're not going to go out and pay $60 for this. They know, okay, well, it's going to be free when it comes out, so I'm not going to argue with free, right? So it's interesting. It's very, very interesting for that. It's sad that this game getting delayed because I was gonna actually renew my Game Pass to play this game soon, but now I have to wait all the way until September. Right, that's quite a few months away from now. So, um, I want Bethesda to, and this is for any game company out there, T. Really, I want people, game developers, and I'm not harping on them because they're working as hard as they can. And I think game developers and programmers and engineers and animators and sculptors, I think they don't get paid enough for their video game making. They get paid like shit and they work on this great project, but that's besides the point. I want developers and studios to work hard on their games, right? I don't want a game being half baked and you turn around and you selling it to people for $70, because as you guys know, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, gaming is premium. So how the way the world working right now and the economy, a lot of people are not willing to shell out $70 every time a new video game comes out now. Right? A lot of people are getting more skeptical. A lot of people are really looking at their budget and their financing and saying, okay, let's look at the reviews first before we make this investment of a video game. And I'm like that too. I'm guilty of it. If a game has such poorly reviews, yeah, I'm not buying it. Unless if I get a review copy or something, I'm not buying it. Because if the reviews suck, the consumer says it sucks, why would I spend $70 on something that I know that's going to suck because based off the reviews? Now I just wasted money. Right? So it's just one of those things that gamers, quote unquote, because I know a lot of people hate that term. It's just the only name I can call it right now. Gamers, they don't want to invest a lot of money in video games for sucky video games. For me, it's the sucky video games or is the hard games. Wulong, Fallen Dynasty, I'm talking to you. Because I spent whole retail for that and I hadn't played it in a while, a couple days because I've been working. But it's true. A lot of people are not wanting to drop the cash on such a large video game that is not prevailing well. Right? Nintendo, as of late, not really lately, but before, they've had games where they're, would say, half baked, and they're going to turn around and sell it to us for $70. And when we buy the game with the anticipation of it being good, it's not that good. And first, most of us were buying digitally. So when you're buying a game digitally, you can't get your money back. You can't say, hey, I want to trade this in. That would be cool, though. That would be kind of dope if you could do that. But you can't do that digitally right now. So you're stuck with the game you bought digitally. Now, if you go to GameStop, you got to deal with them shoving down the pro membership down your throat. And then they ask you 20 times for a warranty before you can pay for the game. And then when you buy the game, you trade it in, you get $1 for it. So that way they can flip it and switch it and sell it again for 60. So that's why I don't buy from GameStop. That's the whole point of that. I don't buy from GameStop anymore because I bought a game for 60. They say, hey, yeah, we'll give you $10 for it, for them to flip it and buy it and sell it back out for 80. So yeah, no. So again, Starfield has been delayed now to the second half of this year, 2023. We're looking at September 6th. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed one more time. This is a high anticipated game. When it does come out, maybe I'll renew my Xbox Game Pass. And I've had Game Pass and I loved it. It's just I've had so many subscriptions on my bill list right now, so I kind of had to pause those type of subscriptions because it does add up at the end of the month. So maybe I'll renew my Game Pass and maybe we'll play it. If it comes out September 6th. I mean, it's been said since September 6th, but who knows? They might say, December. We don't know yet. So good luck to Bethesda. I hope they figure it out. Like I say, take your time, because if you want this game to be a smash hit, yeah, you got to take your time. You got to take your time. It's the same thing with me too about Black Myth Wukong. That game was supposed to come out this year. It got delayed until next summer. So again, take your time on these games. So that's going to wrap it up here on our podcast, the Beyond Swanky podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one as much as I did. And if you're watching the video version of this podcast, thank you so very much. Like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell notification at the bottom so that way you guys can get notified when we upload our next content. And if you're listening on all of our audio radio platforms, Stitcher Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcasts. It's all there. Share it with your friends, letting you guys know that we're live here in the studio. Now, that's going to wrap it up here. This is the Beyond Swanky podcast. I've been your host, K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas. Season 2, still here and kicking it with us. Again, as always, like to say, stay safe, stay swanky, peace.
K.L.P. Aftermath with your host Kennedy Lucas brings out all the stops. Tune in to K.L.P. Aftermath as we have stories, reviews, current events, and even our famous segment, Elephant in the Room. Inspired by the Breakfast Club's Donkey of the Day, K.L.P. Aftermath with your host Kennedy Lucas streams on Atlanta's #1 radio station, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat's 94.6 radio station. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more. The latest show goes after hours. The Beyond Swanky podcast with Kennedy Lucas brings out more for our Lucas Nation fans. Tune in for reviews, topics, and even special guests. We go beyond the swankiness as it's juicy as hell with our DJ Lou Pezzi, playing nothing but the hits on the Spotify podcast version. Live from our studio of Swanky Studios, it's the Beyond Swanky podcast with Kennedy Lucas on Atlanta's #1 stations, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat's 94.6 radio station. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more.